The first agenda item is open forum. Do any members of the commission have items for open forum? Noel?
I have 3 things. So Elm Road, that shed that we had asked to be moved, still has not been moved.
Yes, I do remember that, yes.
Down by Sandy Beach.
I think they moved it to where it wasn't to be removed. It was
It hasn't been
To be
moved.
relocated.
Yeah, it thought it was relocated 30 feet, and I think they requested a certificate of compliance. I'll check on it and
Okay,
follow
it
up.
seems like it's in the same spot. And there are now dirt bikes driving around in the conservation area over by Edwards Beach in the woods there, creating new trails
And Hemlock,
at the end of Hemlock.
Okay.
Um,
and motorized.
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 Yeah, and there's a couple parked outside one of the houses right there at the
I'll
end of
ask
the road.
police to,
Knock on their door?
yeah, try to educate about the conservation land, the rules, and
This was the same place and probably the same kids. Now, I don't know that for a fact, with the junior Paul Bunyans with their hatchets.
Yeah, they're cutting down saplings and hacking away at trees in there. And the
We
third
need to create a brochure and deliver it to that neighborhood.
And the third thing was the NAB golf course had a duck race where they put in, like, everybody has a number on a little rubber ducky,
Duckies?
and they send it down the little stream to the pond, and they didn't have enough water, so they ended up releasing water from the dam to have that race. Did we know about that?
I did not. I will follow up with them about that.
Okay, that's it.
Matt, do you have something for open forum?
As soon as I'm done making a note.
Okay.
Just a point of order, as Anne is participating remotely, all votes will be by roll call tonight.
You can hear us, Ann?
I could hear most of it. I couldn't hear the last item.
I said all votes will be by roll call.
Okay.
Do any members of the audience have items for open forum? Nope. Okay. Moving on to our 7:05 PM agenda item. This is a public hearing for Roberts.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 24th, 2023, at 7:05 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of William Roberts for construction of a 24 by 26 garage addition, a portion of which is located within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 7 Vineyard Road.
Good evening, everybody. Just want to say thank you for your time to be able to see you today, and hope to seek permission to build this garage on my property, 7 Vineyard Road. As I said, my name's William Roberts, and the existing dwelling currently has parking under the house, which leaves me with no basement really. I have a utility room and a place to keep my vehicles. The existing structure, I found some old plot plans, and it shows the wetlands have moved in the last 30 years since the house has been built. So the new plot plan shows that there's an overlap there in the corner in the back. That area is currently all asphalt and a fieldstone retaining wall currently. I had failed to include those in the initial package. I apologize for that. I did bring supplemental documents for that. I did take some pictures, and I do have some updated plans that my contractor had redrafted. I don't know if I hand these to you guys. Is that okay? Or?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Where did you say the asphalt is?
It's actually my driveway. The area that we're going to be building, it's an asphalt driveway. I have the
underneath the proposed garage?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
He's what, like 95 feet away?
It's 90, it's like,
Yeah,
I
I
measure
mean-
it's about 90 feet, yeah.
Yeah, I think
It's gonna be a
56, okay.
non-issue.
It's not an issue, yeah.
I didn't say that.
Page 3 is
Sorry for the rudimentary drawings on that.
And a stick picture.
Yeah. Thank you. And that is the picture of the property.
with the
gonna be
distance
nice.
being 90, 95, 90 feet, something like that, I don't have any problem with it.
The only question I had is, it looks like a little piece of it is within the building setback envelope, and I didn't know if that meant you needed to go to the ZBA for a variance?
Yep, currently, working with Jim, I got, Henry, the commissioner, to, give me a recommendation, to seek variance for the, I think it's 3 feet that I'm over that side boundary. The property there, the retaining wall hooks all the way around. I did bring pictures of that, I just didn't know if that was gonna be relevant,
Okay.
today. But yeah, so it's currently below grade, you'll see in one of the plans, and then the retaining wall on the right side is kind of the property separation, so it's still all of my driveway where I'll be building.
Okay, yeah. The only reason for my question was if you're going through another hearing
Oh,
process.
yes, I will be, yes.
Yeah, so it
Sorry.
just,
We don't want to close ours. Yeah.
well,
I think continuing it, to after the ZBA's, you said
Yeah.
July.
This is the one I'm gonna try for, yeah, the deadline, that was just, today, I think, I wasn't able to get the paperwork.
I don't have
in order.
any issues.
okay.
Quick question. So is there a roof sloping down? I didn't, for that garage, is there roof sloping down?
It's gonna be an A-frame roof to match the same pitch of the house. Yep, yeah, it won't reach to, above the second floor.
I see.
Yeah.
You'll have gutters or something to capture the rainwater?
Correct, yep, yes, sir.
Yeah, our just concern is we didn't wanna close this out,
Yep.
and then if something comes up with the ZBA and we're having to kind
And
of,
then you have to repost.
Reopen it
yeah,
again?
so
Okay.
we'll just continue it till after, so, second meeting in July?
Yes, is the July 26th.
Okay, so we'll continue it to July 26th,
26, great.
at which point hopefully you'll have your determination from the ZBA and we can, close,
Close, issue orders.
Yep.
Or issue orders closed. Yeah,
well,
there you go.
this conditional negative determination. But yeah, so that we can close this one out at
Okay.
that time.
Great,
Okay,
appreciate that, thanks very much.
thank you.
So, motion to continue the public hearing?
Yeah, motion to continue the public hearing to July 26th? Okay,
Thanks for your time.
thank you.
Second,
Second, all those in favor, Eric,
yes.
Marilyn, Noel,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Noel,
Yes.
and Margaret, yes. So now we're continued.
You can,
Great.
Okay, have a good night.
you can stick around?
Thank you very much.
Moving on to our 7:10 PM agenda item, it's continuation of a public hearing and issue order of conditions for Sherman, 1 Fairview Drive.
Good evening, Matt Stengel from Land Tech Consultants. We were sent the draft order of conditions. Matt sent them to us yesterday. The homeowners reviewed the order of conditions. The only condition that they were not questioning, but they just had a concern about was number 40. Regarding the storage of construction vehicles within the 100-foot buffer. Their concern being that they were hoping to do their staging in the driveway. The driveway is entirely within the 100-foot buffer. So they were just concerned that like the only area that's outside the 100-foot buffer would be at the corner of the property at the intersection, and they just didn't think that would be a practical spot to do their staging or any storage of vehicles or anything during the construction process. So just wasn't sure if that was something that we could get amended or how, just looking for any input on how that could work.
So, normally we don't want vehicles stored in the buffer zone because of the risk of if there's fuels or oils or whatever leaking out of the vehicle. So that's what's behind this.
Understood.
So what kind of vehicles were they planning to store on the driveway?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure how much like heavy machinery is really going to be involved with this. The only excavation would be for the slab for the shed that's underneath the deck, and I don't think there's much excavation that really needs to be done for that, so I'm not really anticipating like
Okay,
lots of
Typically, this, I missed this, particularly with lots that are completely or almost wholly within the buffer. That's typically amended. Oop, I can scroll to it for those playing along at home. And, you know, so it's stored further than 100 feet from the wetland resource areas. It's all one further than. Typically with projects where most of the property is within the buffer, it's revised prior to you guys getting it to say as far as practicable. So, you know, if we could, if it's the commission's pleasure, I can certainly, you know, revise this condition so that it reads that they be stored on the driveway and, or as far as practicable from the wetland resource.
That sounds good.
I just had a grammar thing. Could you change further to farther?
Yes.
Thanks.
And how long are we talking about storing this? Days, weeks?
Maybe weeks. I'm not sure. We don't have like a construction sequence in place for the project yet.
But it's not going to be, you know, longer than multiple weeks.
No.
Yeah, you know,
I would
They
not
couldn't afford to leave the
anticipate-
machinery there.
Right.
Exactly.
It's too
yeah.
expensive, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it would be, I was anticipating it being days, you know, get the slab foundation, you know, excavate for that, you know, maybe do any of the other additional footings, you know, kind of be a little bit easier than using a, you know, doing it by hand. But I certainly think it would be a fairly quick amount of time for the
Yes.
equipment to be on site.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm fine with the revision.
Okay. Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor? Eric?
yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor? Eric?
yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes.
I'll send it to you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing for Max Management LLC.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 24th, 2023, at 7:15 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of Walter Erickson, Max Management LLC, for the construction of a new dwelling and associated clearing and grading within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 8D Donato Drive, Lot 4, part of 472 Groton Road.
Good evening. My name is Walter Erickson from Max Management, Maureen Harold from North Environment Services.
Thank you.
Could not make it tonight, so.
Oh, there's two. I forgot the other.
Oh, you'd be fine, I'm sure.
Most important parts.
What we have here is a lot on a new subdivision that was recently approved by the planning board. The lot is 1.37 acres. It's at the very end of the cul-de-sac. On the northerly side of the lot, on the back of the lot, off the property line, it's bordered by vegetated wetlands that encompasses the back and the left-hand side. There's a vernal pool located within the wetlands, directly behind the house. And we've designed the lot to have all activity 100 feet away from the vernal pool. On the opposite side, there's no alteration within 50 feet to comply with the town's regulation, no building within 75 feet. There is, at the request of the planning board, we've provided a trail easement to access a trail that goes across this conservation land here. But I don't think there's any work that's required to take down trees or do any work in that trail easement. It's very level, like a pine forest spot, so no alteration really would have to be done there. And the trail easement is wide enough so that we can meander around any trees as necessary. We'll be using rooftop infiltrators. The whole subdivision and the lots and the infiltration has complied with the planning board and the town's stormwater management regulations during the subdivision approval process. The soils in this area are Hinkley, which is a sand and gravel, deep water table. So we don't anticipate any problems. And I guess that's about all I have.
Members of the commission have any comments or questions? Noel?
Can you point out the 100-foot buffer again?
The 100-foot buffer is here.
Okay, because in the corner, the top left, this says 100-foot buffer. Is that dashed line?
Over here?
No, further up, within the
Purple?
right by your middle finger there. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
So this line is the 50-foot limit from the edge of the wetlands. This is the 75. And here is the 100 from the wetlands. But this is 100-foot from the.
For the vernal pool.
Yeah, so the
Right,
vernal
right
pool
here,
is.
it says 100-foot buffer.
Is one of them's a
Yeah,
100 foot.
that's what this yellow line to the regular 100-foot buffer.
And the other
this is
one-
where it intersects it for the vernal pool.
Right, 'cause
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the vernal pool is located within the wetlands itself. The 100-foot line, there's two 100-foot lines, you're correct.
Got it.
There's one from the vernal pool, one from the wetlands area.
where the tree line is now is fine by me. I'm thinking we need to put something like, some kind of markers
The conservation posts?
along the.
For the limit of
along the-
clearing?
Approximately along the tree line, so that on the west side, it'll be more like 50 to 75 feet out, and then by the vernal pool, it'll be 100 feet. Something like that. So the wording on it.
And
will
we
be-
just define that straw wattles as the limit of work
That-
instead of
that's-
the 50, yeah.
About where the straw wattles are, I think would be a good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would be where we
Appropriate.
should have limited
Yeah,
work.
and then at the point where the trail goes through, I don't know, who owns the trail up here? Us? Conservation, yes.
Well, so
We can get a,
if it's an easement, then who would actually own the land of the trail easement?
It would be an easement to the town of Westford.
But who would own the land?
The
This homeowner.
property owner, yeah.
That, okay, so it's on the property owner's property. So, Jim, I think you're,
I'm thinking like a trailhead marker. Do
Yeah,
we have
so
any of those
in
left?
the fairly certain, I'll have to review, but in the planning board's decision, I did provide comments, for the trail connectivity, and where the work is not really subject to the commission's jurisdiction, where, the creations of a trail is certainly allowed, a natural trail is allowed within the Wetlands Protection Act, especially within the buffer. I thought it was more applicable to the planning board's decision as opposed to within the Conservation Commission's.
Okay. So what are they
and-
leaning towards doing?
And so I'll review the planning board, I'll find the language in the planning board decision, and include that at the next meeting, because I think there is something about, demarcating the easement and,
Okay,
and so that there, to avoid conflict.
You'll link
know.
one to the other. but
So
you'll
otherwise,
link
it
one
kind of
to the
gets,
other.
becomes a lawn, disappears, and then nobody
Yeah,
sees
But
it,
if
no
he
one
links
uses it.
it, if he links it, that.
We'll be
that's
happy to
good.
put markers out for the trail easement.
Right.
and Jim, do you have a thought with the conservation posts along the limit of clearing?
Yeah, well, where the proposed tree, proposed tree
pros-
line,
yes.
or the proposed straw wattles, it's the same.
What were you thinking about the distance between the markers? 50 feet or
I think we could probably do it with just on the corners.
the corners?
Yeah.
So every place that there's a jog,
I think so, yeah. That would
Okay.
do it.
would you want to see them on the plan of record?
That would be good.
Okay,
That way he knows he's gonna get them.
And I don't think we have to go, follow the wattles by the trail easement. I think we could actually go, if you wanted to put them into the woods, I don't care. That'd be fine. 100 feet would be good.
At the 100 feet, okay, so every 100 feet
No,
at the
I-
edge of the vernal pool.
I'm sorry, I meant 100 feet out from the vernal pool, or 100 feet out from the
So, okay.
wetlands buffer. It's the same thing there.
yeah, okay.
So you don't
And
have
then
to,
spaced, what do you want for
I think
spacing?
along the corners.
Okay.
It would seem like it would be okay.
How densely, vegetated is this
The eight
area
of
where
them?
the proposed tree line
You want
is?
them all the way up to the
You
easement?
know, they're large
There'd be
pines.
8 of them.
Yeah,
So there's not a lot of
There's
undergrowth?
not a lot of underground.
No,
Okay.
I was able to
Six,
walk it this afternoon and review the
8 would be right
wetland
to the easement,
delineation
right? Yeah, that's what I got.
fairly
Yeah, that would be
easily
okay.
and didn't
Okay,
get any scratches, so I.
so you'd be,
Nice-
so
quite
from
nice
one
for-
post, you'd be able to see the next?
Yes.
Okay,
Here,
Okay.
don't even stay, you know, at the wattle
All
there.
right.
so, Matt, do you have anything?
And beyond,
at the-
you know, the commission's jurisdiction for the buffer to the vernal pool is located within the rules and rules and regulations. I think it's chapter 235. Within, under the Wetlands Protection Act, the Wetland Protection Act only protects the 100-foot buffer within another resource area. It doesn't go to the buffer included, it's not jurisdictional to within the buffer of the bordering vegetated wetlands. The vernal pool protections only extend within the bordering vegetated wetlands. But the town's gone further, so that's
Oh,
why
yeah, that's
they're
good.
complying
Fine.
with that.
That's good. We'll always take more.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? Okay, so Matt, if we continue to June, is it
I think it's June 14th, but
June
I would like
14th?
to double check that. Yes, June 14th.
Okay, and we could have an order at that point?
Yep, I will draft an order.
Okay, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to June 14th?
Second,
All those in favor? Eric?
yes.
Marilyn? Noel?
Yes.
Anne?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to our 7:25 PM agenda item, a public hearing for Val?
Under Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 24th, 2023, at 7:25 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Stephen and Matina Fell for extension of a pool patio, pavers, and construction of a pavilion within 100 feet of bordering land, subject to flooding at 37 Colonial Drive.
I'm Stephen Fell, 37 Colonial Drive. I'm not sure where to start, but looking to extend the, maybe that'll help guide me a bit there. So have a pool in our backyard. It's been there since the house was built, to my knowledge, 1990. We have a Pebble Tech patio that kind of goes around the pool today. Doesn't allow us much room, if any at all, to sit and enjoy the pool. We kind of have to sit on the grass. So we want to take the, we're not going to disrupt anything on the existing Pebble Tech patio, if you will. We just want to build out the patio on the north side, closest to the Colonial Drive. Build out the patio. I think it's like, I have.
It's got like a laser pointer on it if you.
I just don't have, I was gonna give you the dimensions, but roughly, from the Pebble Tech out to the pool, about 14 feet. And then we're gonna have a 4-post pavilion, right here would be the pavilion. So
Where are you
extent,
building out the Pebble Tech too?
no, the Pebble Tech is existing. That was the
But
technology.
you want to increase the amount of?
We just wanted, so the Pebble Tech kind of, you can't really see it, and sorry for my shaky hand here, but, so the Pebble Tech goes around the pool, which is not noted here, but we just want to take the patio out here. This is all grass out here. And so, we just want to take out the patio this way.
And put the pavilion on top of the new paver or whatever?
Yeah, exactly, with footings, of course, right? And it would be, it's either 4 posts or 6 posts. I think it's 6 posts. So, we have this drawing as well from the landscape architect, which I think is there. Yeah, that's probably better to show. This whole area is gonna get scrapped. It's just too expensive, and it's just too expensive. So we're gonna, so here's where the pavilion would sit, and then the patio would sort of come out this way.
So those original shrubs and stuff that are part of this plan, those are there and they're gonna go, or this just, they never,
Those are all new shrubs to be added. Yeah.
after the pavilion's in place?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, so this was the plan you showed us when we had the conversation. So these trees along the lower edge,
Lower edge here, this edge here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that you had proposed, are those still gonna be there when the pavilion is built? In terms of,
That's the thought. Yes, create some privacy. Yep.
okay, so those are still planned?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Jim?
I got a question on our jurisdiction. I looked at the town GIS, and wetlands themselves are at least 200 feet away from where he's planning to work. So it's not the wetlands, it's strictly the FEMA flood zone.
It's the bordering land subject,
To
it's
flood.
the buffer to the bordering
Oh,
land
the buffer
subject.
to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is subject to the commission's jurisdiction under the local, under the wetland bylaw.
100 feet from boardland subject to flooding?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's
All right, so
why
that's what the
on the
green-
plot plan
That's
is
that real thin
shown,
green line
that
is?
green line
All right.
is the FEMA, based upon, I think it's the preliminary,
And so that's the one that's like
200-foot
30,
contour.
roughly 35 feet from the
Right.
pool and the work that's proposed.
again, this is the entire, there is a fence surrounding the pool. Currently, per building code, it's required. I think, based upon my discussions with Mr. Fell, the northerly, so the bottom of the plan, the white fence that was blown down in a recent storm will be moved further northerly towards Colonial Drive to create space for the increased paver patio area. And it certainly is consistent, the work is consistent
Okay.
with.
If the flooding happens up to that line, he's maybe living on an island, but but he's not affecting the flood zone
Well,
itself.
no, I mean, so the back of the house has, so there is,
There's a lot of grade there.
yeah, there's, I think, enough, grade that would, between the, FEMA floodline and the top of the pool.
It would have to come up well past the flood line
Yes.
to affect his property.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or for our work here to be affecting the flood zone, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we saw the original proposal. The only thing we're doing now is putting in a pavilion with, basically, it's gonna be, being held up by 4 posts. you're
Yes, I
saying?
think
Yeah,
there was.
6.
But in
yeah.
in the existing area, and we're getting the plantings and everything
Yeah.
that we had originally seen in the
Yep.
Yeah,
previous
so-
plan.
Those pictures there.
So the lawn to the right of the pool deck here will be extended with pervious pavers. The fence, I think, is being moved approximately 5 to 8 feet to the right to allow the space for the pavilion. Again, it's all lawn existing,
I don't have a problem with this.
Nope, me neither.
Do you have any,
I have a place to sit.
you don't have any further comments?
Nope, I do not.
Are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? Okay. Can I have a motion for a conditional negative determination?
Second,
All those in favor? Eric?
yes.
Mm.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel? Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel? Yes. And Margaret, yes. So that's,
That's a good thing.
That's
That's
a
a
good
good
thing.
thing.
Yeah, yes,
Close
is
the public hearing.
yeah, motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor? Eric?
yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel? Yes. And Margaret, yes. So Matt will be in touch.
Absolutely. Appreciate the time.
Hey, thank you. Nice,
Enjoy the pool this summer.
really.
Moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item, it's a public hearing for Krangle.
Under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, May 24th, 2023, at 7:30 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Mark Krangle for extension of a deck using 4 footings within 100 feet of bordering vegetative wetlands at 21 Mark Vincent Drive.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Rangel. This is my wife, Bridget. This request was actually submitted on our behalf by our contractor, James DeVito, but he's actually, he wasn't able to be here tonight. So basically, we're looking to replace our original 1970-something deck with a larger one. Most of the expansion will be parallel to the back of the house, which doesn't, that dimension doesn't get us any closer to the wetlands. However, we would like to go out an additional 2 feet back from the house from where we are right now. So that puts us 2 feet closer to the wetlands. Those measurements are based on the that survey was actually done when our septic system was replaced when we purchased a house 14 years ago. So based on that survey, the new deck at its closest point would be 43 feet from the wetlands. Our contractor actually went out there last week with a measuring tape, and it's really more like 50, 52 feet. But I guess 43 is the official measurement based on the last survey we had.
So it's gonna be on sonotube?
Yes.
Okay. It's grass right now where the deck
Yeah,
isn't?
it's all grass there.
How about slope-wise?
How about what?
Slope of the
Slope.
deck or slope of the property?
The slope of the property, yeah.
So it is sloped from the house back towards
Towards the wetlands.
towards the wetlands. It's just a natural
Very
slope.
gradually. I stopped out this afternoon, or this afternoon.
Unlikely to need wattles or anything?
No, I mean, especially for 4 sonotubes,
Okay.
you know.
The deck.
Okay,
I would estimate it probably drops about 12 to 18 inches over 50 feet. So it's
all right, thank you.
So, so you're expanding the existing deck, so you're gonna remove the existing stairs, but you're just gonna build onto the existing deck in place? It's not like you're taking off the whole deck and building a new one?
No, everything's being replaced. The original structure had to come down. So everything's going to be new footings, new posts.
Okay, where I was going with that
Oh,
question was in terms of presumably there's a dumpster that the old deck will go into after it's been torn down, and I'm wondering,
Yep.
would that be on the, located on your,
So actually, the deck has already been torn down. It was a small enough deck that we didn't need a dumpster. Our contractor hauled it away in,
Actually-
2 or 3 pickup truckloads.
Well, no,
okay.
you didn't fully take it away yet.
Yeah, I was out,
Okay.
and I was gonna say, the existing deck is the former deck, but the site does look, the site is clean, you know,
Okay.
after the
Fine.
demolition. so
Yeah.
I have no
It's
trouble
fine.
with this either.
Okay.
Sorry, I misspoke about it.
Oh, that's, oh, it's, a lot of times we'll see something like this and we're looking at a plan and, if you've been there in person, it looks different than you may see it just from looking at the plan, so. Anybody have comments or questions? Any comments or questions from members of the audience? Can I have a motion for a conditional
It
negative?
may just be a negative determination. I don't really have unless there is a specific condition, I haven't thought of anything.
Negative determination.
Okay, so motion for motion for negative determination.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn? Noel?
It's a good thing.
Ann?
Okay.
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel? And Margaret, yes. Motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel? Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes. So
You're all
Matt will
set.
be
I'll be in touch.
touch.
You're
You're all set.
That's good, Rachel.
I heard negative and I was like, oh.
That's why I always put that out there, because the look on people's faces is priceless.
Did you meet my dog then today when you came over?
I heard him. Thankfully, the door was very closed.
She's actually very nice.
She's loud but friendly.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay,
Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay, our last agenda item is Franklin 31 Bridge Street.
The applicant has requested this be continued to June 14th. I was unable to connect with the engineer in preparing the plot plan, and as I was out of the office, and if the commission could approve the request.
It's fine.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to June 14th?
Second.
All those in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Jim? Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes. Okay, so that's moving on to the discussion and action items.
like to take the
why don't we
certificate
do
of
that?
compliance out of order as
Sure.
Mr. Walter is patiently waiting.
Rob Walter at 62 Lakeshore Drive South. There is a file number 334-1649 requesting a certificate of compliance for the work that I've done in the backyard at the lake. I've submitted pictures and it actually came out really good. We were able to remove about 100 foot of creosote timbers, which right there, yep, and replace them with stone. It was retained very well. The internal retaining wall that was done, added to the order conditions, actually helped create a nice level space that wouldn't wear away with heavy rains. The rains come back, those wattles are actually still out there, so that was just, for some reason and everything's grown back really well, so I'm happy with the way it turned out. All the plantings that we did came in. We lost a couple over the winter, but I replaced them about a month ago, and they've all rooted and pushing out blueberries, and very happy with the way it turned out. So appreciate your willingness to allow us to get it done and do it right. You had some great constructive feedback for us. Any thoughts or concerns?
Looks good to me.
Looks fine.
You can remove the wattles now.
Thank you.
Sierra was out on site today and thought it looked great.
Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-1649?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes.
All very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Enjoy the summer.
Have a
Yeah.
great Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, you
Bye-bye.
as well.
Hey. What do we want to move on to next?
I mean, we can go back to 22 Town Farm,
Okay,
back to regularly scheduled programming.
back to this top of the list. Okay, so this is a ratify emergency certificate for the removal of an uprooted pine tree.
Yes, the building commissioner, shortly after our last meeting, went out to 22 Town Farm. Included in the emergency certification is a photo of the uprooted pine tree taken a couple weeks earlier. It was caught up in the trees at the edge of Stony Brook. The building commissioner determined it to be a threat to public safety. As such, issued the emergency certification for the property owner to remove the tree as it was threatening public safety. And this is the following meeting, if the commission could please ratify.
Okay, can I have a motion to ratify the emergency certificate?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the Stony Brook Conservation Area, Broken Stony Brook Trail Memorial Bench update.
Want me to take this one?
Sure.
All right. I had forgotten that this particular bench, which I gave you guys each a picture of the current state of it. I'd forgotten that this had come before us back last September 28th. And at that meeting, there were some pictures. It was clear that the bench had broken because a tree had come down on top of it. And the Westford Conservation Trust had removed part of the tree. I think the Highway Department might have removed part of it, but the tree's now been removed. The bench is still broken into 3 pieces. And we were going to try to get an estimate from Garside's Granite Monuments. But at the next meeting, it was just indicated that we were playing telephone tag with him, and then it kind of fell into a hole. And we didn't hear anything
It's
after
very
that.
difficult to reach. I'd go to somebody else.
There's another monument place in Acton.
Yes.
But anyway, I spoke with Nancy, who was the donor of this bench, and she said that she had been in touch with the grandson who took over the business from
Yeah, I know.
Al. I think he goes by JT or something like that.
correct.
And he had been planning to be installing it around the 20th or so of May, but I guess
Well, and
Margaret has indicated that that didn't happen.
Well, I ran into Nancy outside the library Friday afternoon, and she said she had actually paid for the new bench,
I know that.
and she had been to see him in person. He was gonna install it that morning. He didn't show. He was gonna take, yeah.
Now,
I had the
these,
same go-around with my
the-
husband's stone. Took months.
these benches have all been.
I would go to Acton.
They'd
I
either
really-
all
I
been
hate to say
donated
that, I
to
would go
the,
Acton.
they'd either all been donated to the Himes Foundation, which I think was the era of Nancy's bench and a number of others, or they were donated while the town owned the property. So effectively, either they came with the property or we okayed the installation on the property. And so I think that the town is responsible for maintaining these benches after they've been donated. If we'd accepted them, or in this case, we bought them with the property, I think we ought to be paying for it. Now, if Nancy has already arranged something with Garside, we could figure out what the cost is for Garside's, pay them, have him refund to her. Because we have done this in the past with with other benches. We figured it was the Arnold Topaz bench from probably 5 years ago, roughly. And then there was another one, you said the Amy Gust bench.
The bench for Amy Gust's husband.
And he replaced that one, or the town? I don't remember
I
that
just
one.
remember it was broken by vandals, but Marilyn?
I feel very strongly about this. The money has not been spent yet. I would not use that particular vendor. I
Oh,
would not use that vendor. You may wait months
Well,
and
my
months.
understanding is she's already
She's
paid.
spent the money.
And-
she's already worked with him. Right.
Yes.
Okay,
But-
then she'll still wait months, but I'm just
Well,
telling you my own personal experience, and I would not do that. So
Okay.
for us, I would not use that vendor.
And I think this is something that we ought to also
never
talk
say
about,
that.
given that there's now a monuments and memorials committee in town. I don't know how far their expanse reaches, or if it's just stuff on the town common, or if it's everything all over town. I really don't know.
My understanding of that, when it was being formed, and I'll have to follow up and find the email from town council, but I thought where the, for the instance of the Stony Brook Conservation Area, it's under the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. They may advise, but ultimate approval, again, was with the property owner being the
All right.
commission.
And the
But
last
I'll
thing that
follow up on that.
last thing we had on this was that we were gonna try to get an estimate to figure out what it was gonna cost. We could probably try to get an estimate direct from Nancy. She probably knows exactly what it cost.
Well,
So I
each
think we ought to
vendor
do
could be
that, because
different, though.
we're already at day 237.
I'm just telling you my experience.
I
so,
know,
mean,
I know.
And I'm not the only
Squeaky
one
wheels
with
get
this
the oil,
experience.
so nagging sometimes works too.
Can you also,
They had to come from the cemetery commission
if you're,
down to him.
if you're talking with the
That's one way to
monument
nag.
committee, is
Took
find out
months.
if they've set up for a vendor, so that if there's somebody that they're working with, then going forward, that might be good for us to work with them as well, just in
Who is
terms,
they?
the monuments committee.
I don't think so. I think as a part of, each specific proposal, they have to, provide a
Oh, so they have
quote
to
or,
put out
yeah,
bid.
it's,
Okay,
it's,
so they have
or
to
not
go
put out bid, but it's, they're, the person requesting it to the committee, is, providing kind of a
Okay.
anticipated
Just want to
budget.
reiterate, if it's paid for, then you're stuck, and, If it isn't paid for, it's not where I'd go, guys. And
Okay.
I never say this, and I never say it out loud.
So, I will follow up with Nancy, see if she's heard from Garside. If she hasn't, do we want to start from scratch
If
with
she's
somebody
paid,
else?
We can certainly ask, and I mean, but if, services haven't been rendered for, again, that's,
If
but
she's paid money, she's stuck.
That-
He's already
that's-
cashed the check.
I have no idea. I didn't
yeah,
ask her
so
that.
that's, I mean, so that's,
Trust
we can, I'll keep calling daily and trying to get a hold and.
In the meantime, let's put this on our agenda. I would appreciate if we could put it on our agenda under discussion action items in perpetuity
Oh,
until it
till the
happens.
bench
Until
is
it happens.
repaired.
Right.
Okay,
I'll remember it.
okay. Moving on to the other request for certificate of compliance.
Oh, that's me. The homeowners of 14 Pleasant Street are in the process of selling their house during title search. Old expired orders, well, one old expired order came up. The first is 334-1301. It was issued 2005. It was for the replacement of the stairs from their property down the bank to Forge Pond. Sierra, here's a photo of the existing conditions. I think it was for the replacement of this deck as well, which was within the buffer. Here's a photo of the existing stairs. So, you know, almost 20 years
Fall down.
later, still in good shape, and based upon the plans, the hand-drawn plans, which were submitted with the notice of intent, the stairs and the platforms do appear to be in substantial conformance with the approved plans, and would request a certificate of compliance be issued. There was one continuing special condition that no petroleum products be stored on the dock.
Okay. Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-1301?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes. Okay.
The next certificate of compliance request is also at 14 Pleasant Street. It's 334-1794. This was one of the properties that was included with the benthic matting pilot project requested by the Friends of Forge Pond. They're requesting a partial certificate of compliance to close it out for this property, and based upon, I offered to the that if it gets closed out, they, you know, the new homeowners wouldn't be able to participate in that, and here we are with a partial request for a partial certificate of compliance. The benthic matting was removed, and Sierra observed it stored on the at the top of the by the lawn, and I will require them to remove it, but I do remove and dispose of it.
They're saying they're done with
Yeah,
it. so-
done. Yeah, they as 14 Pleasant Street, the new homeowners, from my understanding, do not want to participate and go forward with it, and as such, I am I think the a partial certificate of compliance can be issued for 14 Pleasant Street, 334-1794.
Okay. Can I have a motion to issue a partial certificate of compliance for 14 Pleasant Street, DEP file number 334-1794?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes. Okay.
Our next request for a certificate of compliance is
This one. How old is this one?
95. So going on 30 years. And this was for the construction of a single-family house lot. There was a wetland crossing associated with it, which tried in my best to utilize the plans in the aggregate to determine the existing conditions, but where the septic plan didn't include the wetland crossing, I did want a certified plot plan. There is a shed that is located on the easterly lot line. The wetland buffer was taken from the plot plan in 95, or 93, I think. Yeah, from June 93. And the wetlands have certainly moved further northerly. And so I think the shed, I wasn't able to find any documentation for whether a request for determination of applicability was ever sought, but it is further, it appears to be further than 50 feet, which is consistent with the commission, or 55 feet, consistent with the commission's rules and regulations. And overall, I do think the house and the access driveway was constructed in substantial conformance with the original order of condition, plan in the original order of conditions, as shown here. There were some wetland replication areas shown on the plan, but the specific order of condition, first time I've ever seen a special condition requiring that a wetland replication not be performed. I think it was just, I don't understand it, but it was what was issued, and, it was a different time. So I do believe that the property was constructed in substantial conformance, and I met the new homeowners today, as they've already closed, and certainly are appreciative of having the wetlands around their house and kind of having it secluded, and kind of was able to discuss with them, stay away from the wetlands. And I recommend this be issued, the certificate of compliance be issued.
Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334575?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes.
And last but not least is certificate of
We did it.
compliance for.
Oh, we got the one.
We did, that we amended the agenda to include a certificate of compliance request for the homeowners at 5 Woodland Drive, 334-1222. They also have a closing soon, and they this outstanding order of conditions was found. The homeowners it was for the construction of an addition here and here, and the deck kind of in this area. And the foundation is based upon the assessor's property card. The dimensions are consistent with what was approved by the commission back early aughts as well. And as such, I would request the commission issue a certificate of compliance.
Can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-1222, 5 Woodland Drive?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Noel? Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
And Margaret, yes. Okay, we don't have minutes.
Minutes were struck. We'll have 2 sets of minutes for the next meeting.
Okay,
Wasn't able to review them.
so no site visits to record or schedule.
Cool down, I'm shocked.
Less than an hour.
God, it's 5 to 8.
Weren't we gonna get bagels if it was less than an hour?
Yeah, I can arrange that. I can arrange that.
Signature's gonna be really
Make sure you have
slow.
7 minutes here. No, I'm
Did you
pretty
wanna
generous.
bring up, no, you had said you were interested, or you were interested in a group of people doing some restoration.
Yes. So I have some people in Nabnasset who are interested in helping me go down there and clear out some of the debris and all the stuff that's down there. And I have people in town willing to donate native plants as like a restoration. But my worry of that is that whoever's destroying it is just gonna destroy those plants, and it's not gonna be able to be restored. So I was wondering if, and I've seen this along the Nashua River in Groton, they do a temporary fence where there's a sign that says restoration in process. Please do not disturb. So I was hoping maybe I could put up some sort of a temporary fencing along the trail that doesn't allow anybody to go
Sort of like a snow
into
fence
that.
sort of thing?
And I think the first thing is,
I mean,
If-
I'm sure it's gonna get destroyed too.
If
but-
some of the land is within the buffer zone to a wetland,
Mhm.
is there a process we need to follow to have a review of the proposed work?
Some of the area where they have like, so it's a motorized vehicle, so it's like kind of a turn, and the water is 5 feet
It just-
on the other side of that.
I'll take a look at the regulations, but I think it should be able, especially where it is the buffer. I think there are provisions in both, you know, the planting of native species, you know, to, especially in
the
the
removal-
buffer. I think that
No
is.
dumping?
The remove, like Christmas trees and like, you know, there's some invasive species in there. There's a really beautiful, bleeding heart that I'm planning on taking out of there. It's gorgeous.
I'm
I'll take-
thinking that in addition to that, and if that's all agreed upon and we can do that, that it might be useful to have a mailing to that neighborhood to advise them, so they'll have been told, because I think this is blatant, what's happening there. If that happens, then we can talk about whether we can set up a fine schedule. I mean, I think it's, I'm sorry to do that, you know what I mean? But I think they need to get that it's not something they can just pretend that they're not hearing or they're gonna do anyway, ha-ha.
I'm also planning on reaching out to, some of the scouts in town to see if this could be potentially an Eagle Scout project as a restoration.
Would putting a fence up temporarily?
I don't think so. Again, I'll double
Okay,
check.
so
and-
you'll look into the regulations
Yeah,
and see
and
what
can
would have to
certainly
be
get
reviewed?
an email,
Okay.
or get a letter.
Yeah, I don't
Prepared
think I
and send it.
remember in a long time or ever
Yeah.
having to be worried about an area that is blatantly being abused like ha-ha. So if that's the case, then I think we need to up the ante and have,
Yep,
have
I
a
can-
process in
yeah.
place so that,
I certainly have
Thank you.
one from
putting my pen away.
other conservation properties in town
It's
that I
okay, I'm just-
notified of
I'm
dumping
just whining.
that was not permitted.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Any other business? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Marilyn?
Yes?
Noel?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Noel?
Yes.
Margaret? Yes.
And it's 3 minutes
3
before the
minutes to
clock.
spare.